Okay, so recording. So here we are on day 3, 2/3 of the way through the Met Pro, and we're going to look at energy relationships. A very interesting, very good topic and framework to work in. So, but before we begin, let's do something like we did yesterday morning, set us up for the day, and get us connected with ourselves and each other. And so let's take a moment in the heart position and take a deep breath. And it always feels so good to And let's set our intention for the day, for another amazing day, a day of amazement and learning and evolution and empowerment as practitioners. And a jolly good time. Okay, so let's do a round of tapping on that. Let's wrap all of that together in a jolly good time. A jolly good time.
A jolly good time.
On a jolly good time.
A jolly good time.
We want a jolly good time.
A jolly good time.
Yeah. It's a very English expression, that, by the way.
It is.
A good time.
A jolly good time.
I want a jolly good time today.
A jolly good time today.
I want a jolly good time in the course today.
Jolly good time in the course today.
Another jolly good time.
Another jolly good time in the course.
Jolly good learning.
Jolly good jolly good time.
Jolly good time. Yeah, jolly good. Jolly good. Jolly good.
Jolly good.
Back some memories, actually. It's tapping on this. Jolly good time.
Jolly good time.
Jolly good. When I first started to come to Egypt for holidays, and you know, as a tourist, all the kids, on the street kids, kind of follow you around, like trying to ask you for money and everything. And they speak like English words. They've obviously been taught to say things that to make you laugh, or you know, so they would like say, like, but funny, very English expressions, like jolly good, you know, like. It's odd for a young Egyptian child to be saying such a thing, but you know, like a very English something. Jolly good, jolly good,
jolly good, jolly good time,
jolly good energy, jolly good energy. Okay, so that's a little bit more wakened me up, ready for the day. So let's get started. So Gisela looks like she's not found her way to the technology yet, so we'll just get started anyway. Okay, energy relationships. And we're going to meet the entities. So actually we don't, that's for Gisela's sake, actually, because she's not got the manual, but anyway, it's good to have it on the recording. So this chapter is all about understanding and working with relationships. So as humans, it's unavoidable. We make relationships with everything. That's just what we do. We make relationships with everything. And when we say everything, when we say thing, we're always in relationship with something. So in this chapter, we're going to refer to the thing that we're in relationship with as the entity. Okay, so we're using the term entity as a generic term for a thing. Anything could be my cup that I'm in relationship with, or a person I'm in relationship with, or a spider I'm in relationship with. And also, we relate to our concept of the thing. Because let's say Kim, take me, I'm in relationship with Kim. I relate to Kim with the Kim that I know. So is my concept of Kim. That might not be all of Kim at all by any means. So we relate to each other also by our concept of the thing. And the more we know the thing, the closer the concept of thing becomes to the thing itself. So that's another. So, and while we're relating to the concept of the thing, the concept is also an entity. So everything we are in relationship with is an entity. So this is just setting down the terms for the moment.
So basically it means our interpretation of something, someone.
Yes, our concept of whatever it is we're in relationship with, we're in relationship with the concept of that, which may or may not be
true,
which we think we're in relationship with. Yeah. So we are in relationship with entities. So there's a generic pattern. Whatever we're relating to, we are in relationship with entities. It's a structural thing across all human relationships. And so when we understand the structure, you know, we can apply the principles to all kinds of relationships. So when the energy flow in the relationship is rich and high and good, we feel good in the relationship. It energizes us, we have good information, and it's an enriching thing in our life. When the energy flow is poor and low in the relationship, then, you know, we can feel bad, we're ignorant, we can be confused, we don't have the information that is all available. So in modern energy, we're trying to improve the energy flow. So as we looked in the very first chapter, as we connect to something, our attention goes there, and the energy from the thing comes through that connection to us. So energy is flowing through the connection to us. And so the laws of energy apply, and there are also laws of entities, which we're going to have a look at as well. So when we know these, the laws of energy and the laws of entities, we can apply this to every single kind of relationship you could possibly imagine. From dead ancestors to flowers to God to your slippers to your beloved to everything, money to religion to everything. The structure is the same. So, what kinds of entities? Well, I've just mentioned a few. What kind of entities can we be in relationship with? So, all kinds of things. So, flowers, ghosts, or some spooky looking things. So, a spiritual kind of entities. The world, the earth, nature, factories, work, industrial, man-made life, groups, relationship with groups. And entities can be not just a single item, but a group of items. So a relationship of two people is the bubble, the couple bubble, is an entity in its own right. And a family, a group of entities together, connected in their bubble, is another entity in its own right. So we can have group entities. We'll have a look at that later. Animals, cars, humans, houses, and so forth, and etc. So we've got lots of different examples. And then the other thing that is a pattern, a human pattern of ours, is that the concept that we are in relationship with, the more we're in relationship with it and the more defined the concept, the entity becomes. So let's say I begin a relationship with my cup, just say for an example, and I start to have a regular paying attention and appreciation and using my cup. I start to appreciate my cup and come to love my cup, and then eventually my cup likes being on the table. Yeah, my cup likes having coffee in it. Yeah, so it's almost like the entity, then we start to project a human-like personality onto the entity as if it's a thing in its own right, with relating in its own right. And this thing appears in our behavior quite naturally. When you think about the man and his car, well, how does a man refer to his car? Oh, she's purring nicely today. Or like the car has got a life, a thing of its own, and a likes and dislikes and a behavior of its own. It's an entity, like the child and its comfort blanket. So we can't be parted from it, and it has its own, it wants to be with me. It wants to be with me. So thinking about that and our language, how we refer to our entities, and what examples have you observed in yourself or in other people where the entity they're in relationship with, he have developed his own sense of identity and its own behavior? Can you think of any other examples?
My computer.
Yeah, my computer is having a bad day. Yeah, today. Yeah. So, for example, yeah, oh, my computer hates me. Yeah. Obviously, my computer hates me because it wouldn't be doing this otherwise. Yeah. So we've kind of projected. So the entity we're in relationship with has got such definition. Then as humans, because we make human-like relationships, we kind of project this human-like nature on the entity, which is
my hair.
Yeah.
And it's like your hair can be an entity too, can't it?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah. Another interesting one where we do that is with diseases. Me and my arthritis, or my cancer's playing up today, or my cancer hates me or is at war with me or something. So we've personified the entity. God, that's an interesting one, debatable, controversial discussion. We won't go too far into it, but how we personify the God entity. There's an entity that we're all part of, connected in, or in relating with, from 0 to 100% relationship, various degrees, and we have personified it. So then I won't go into the argument of is it a person or not, or whatever. That's another argument. But if we've been personifying it for hundreds of years or thousands of years, then we're in this kind of pattern, aren't we? So
people's football clubs would be similar. Like it's grand final weekend here in Australia, so their football team has an energy or an entity of its own that's like, it excuses all behavior because the team is doing this.
Yes, yeah. So it's good to start to recognize the pattern and the structure of things in our relationships as we relate with our world. We're relating with entities, we're relating with our concept of things, and even we can come to personify the entity that we're in relationship with even if it's an inanimate thing. Well, it's an energetic thing. Create an energetic entity. And the classic thing, as you remember from Energy Master, is a great example, you know, in Castaway, Tom Hanks and the basketball, which he puts the hand on and labels in Wilson. And then he starts to have a relationship with Wilson, and he forms a real energetic entity where Wilson is, the basketball is the placeholder for the energetic entity of Wilson. And then Wilson has his own personality and behavior by projection. And when he loses the basketball, or Wilson, you know, he goes into a genuine bereavement process, feelings, because there's a real relationship, energetic relationship there in place. So this explains why, you know, if we do, you know, try to remove the comfort blanket from the child, or, you know, we have to do it in the similar caring way, you know, let that relationship evolve in a normal caring way, and respect that there's a real relationship there, for instance. Okay, the law of entities. So, thank you. So all entities are energy, and there's a perfect place in time and space for every entity. Entities become worse when they become low in energy, and entities get better when they receive more energy. When they receive enough energy, entities transform. A person owns their entities. So all the concepts we're in relationship with, we own the concepts. To get entirely free of an entity, unconditional love at +10 is required. So we don't do any of this, you know, cutting the cords and anything like that, you know, metaphorical things. We transform the relationship into unconditional love and freedom, where then we're not attached anymore to the entity. It's set free. So that picture, and now page 133. So let's just have a little look at that. So let's take an example of a human relationship. So with an entity. So we're now in relationship with a person, or our concept of the person. So the person, the more energy they have, the more angelic they are. And towards us and in our relationship, in themselves, in their own right, and in the relationship with us. The more energy poor the entity or the person is, the more angry, destructive, threatening, demonic, evil even they become. And even that, there's a black blob there at -10, you know, which is some black abyss of implosion or shut down into just black nothingness, something. That's kind of a shut down state, which I can't, you know, haven't ever touched that myself, but my nephew has. So you know, I've heard him report of that in such cases of extreme stress. So that's the entity. So when the entity itself has energy, it becomes a better entity. When the entity itself has less energy, it becomes a worse entity. We also are an entity as we look at the entity we're in relationship with. So we are the filter through which the information from the entity is flowing. So if we have high energy, more energy, and the energy from the entity is flowing through us, again, we can see it in a more healthy, truer form. When there's less, when we have lower energy, then there's less energy able to flow through us from the entity. So our filter on the entity, we see it more distorted and more threatening and more disturbing. Can you also see that? That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's all about what we're going to be looking at as we improve our relationship with entities, which is all we're going to be doing. we're either going to be adding energy here to this entity, ourself, so that the energy can flow better through us, or we're going to be adding energy to the entity to turn it into a better entity. And that's all we're going to be doing. When we're dealing with any kind of entity whatsoever, we either add energy here to make us a better channel for the energy to flow through, or we add energy to the entity to turn it into being a better entity. So that's the pattern for all relationships. Okay, good so far. So good.
Also good.
Yeah, so when we're doing entity work, we need to be able to connect with the entity. So we have this picture down here, which shows there's a practitioner standing beside his client. And so the client has got a relationship with, you know, the company he works with, for example. And he's sick and tired of it, and he's angry and frustrated with his company. But he's sick and tired and frustrated with the entity that he's in relationship with, the entity of the company, his representation of the company. So where we begin by asking, well, where is this energetic representation of the company in his energy field? And they tend to be outside of our physical body. So we look around and we sense in our energy body, where is the company, for example? And so we think about, you know, the phone company or the utilities company or whatever his employer, whatever the company is. We think about the entity and we search our energy field to sense where is the entity located. So this is not the physical company itself, which is a building in Birmingham with people in it and, you know, and chairs and tables and furniture, and they're all doing a job. This is his concept of that which he's in relationship with. So, which is an energetic thing. So he'll be able to search and find that in his energy field, connect to it, and then how the energy flows in the relationship, we can inquire by saying, how do you feel towards that or about that, is showing us how the energy is flowing by our emotions. So, so this pattern of locating an entity in the energy field is very useful, particularly in the times where people say, well, I don't feel anything. You know, like they have a problem, but, you know, they can't feel it. So they're not in touch with their feelings about it because they're not in touch with it, with the entity. So then when you say, well, this problem, this thing, you know, your father or your, you know, your last job, or, you know, the person at work that you have a problem with, when you think of him or this, it, whatever it is, search around you in your energy field and sense, where is it? Is it kind of near, medium, or far? You know, where, sense around, where do you sense that it is? And so as you do make a scan, they'll go, okay, it's over there, you know, and kind of point to it. They'll get a feeling, their intuition, their sixth sense reading to say, yeah, somewhere over there. As they then connect to it, the energy starts to flow through the relationship, and they can start to feel now what they couldn't feel before, because then now they've located the entity, connected with it, and now they can start to feel their feelings about it. So this pattern is quite useful when somebody says, oh, I can't feel it, you know, I can't feel it. I've got a problem, but I can't feel it. Then you can say, okay, this thing that you have a problem with, okay, sense around you. You know, where is it? Is it sort of behind you, far, near? Oh, it's here, kind of here. Okay. Well, now connect to it here. How do you feel now? Oh, now I can feel it. So it's like making that connection to the entity that the energy can flow through it. Okay, is that helpful to just
Yes.
establish that? Yeah. So once we now made contact, and we can even get a sense of, you know, where the entity is, what's the entity like, you know, we can even ask questions about our perception of the entity itself. You know, is it a dark, a light, colorful? Is it got a kind of a, you know, people will bring their metaphors about their entity as well. So so the next thing is how to improve energy flow between the client and the entity. So here we go. So once we have the connection established, how do you feel about the entity? From there, we improve the energy flow, and we either do that, as I said, by adding energy to the person who's the owner of the relationship with the entity, or adding energy to the entity itself. And we're going to do both ways as an exercise in this unit.
So is that by asking what positive is needed, or just by sending energy generally, asking what positive?
Yeah, so I mean, and actually, you know, this is the way we do it with modern energy tapping with positives. But if you weren't doing that, the principles would apply. You could just sit there and send energy. You know,
Yeah.
That would also help.
Yeah.
So the entity protocol. So ensure the tapping team is strong before you begin. So again, if we're going to tackle a subject or a kind of a relationship which has got a lot of stress in it, you know, or the relationship's threatening, or there's, you know, it's got a history, you might say, okay, before we begin to look at this, how do you feel? Where are you on the SU scale? And what do you need to feel better so that we can begin this? Okay, so we want to strengthen and energize the client always before we begin, so they're like +4 or 5 as we start to do the exploration. Yep. And we're going to keep an eye on the energy of the client as we go through this as well. So now we focus the client on the entity. You think about this, where is it in your body? Connect to it, get some information about the entity itself. That's good for you as the practitioner also to become aware about that. And then check back with the client to make sure you're dealing with the same entity in the tapping team. Okay, so we just so we're just confirming that we're dealing with the same thing. Use positives to the relationship between the client and the entity and improve the relationship to a +10. To achieve these kind of outcomes without energy is impossible, but with energy in mind, it's natural and a structural thing. The entity protocol is based on the laws of energy and there are no exceptions. Okay, so what kind of entities are we going to practice this on? We're going to practice it on our aspects, because aspects are entities, are they not? They are energetic representation of what happened that day and the state, the energy state that we were in, and all the information and all the energies of that moment is captured in the aspect memory. So that is an entity, it's a concept, it's an energetic entity. So our aspects are entities. So once the event or the moment has passed and it's now in the past, it only exists as energy now. Whatever happened only exists as energy now after it's happened. And that's a really good thing to reassure the client with when you're working with memories, because you can say, it's finished, you know, the thing is gone. 40 years ago, whatever, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore, only as energetic memory. It's your energy data. So you can do what you want with your energy data. By the way, it's you own it. Oh, really? Oh, I can? Yeah, it's very empowering actually to do that. So it's the relationship between the person here and now and their aspects which is important. Working with the entities is about energy relationships. We want to improve the energy flow between the person here and now and their entity towards a high energy event. So let's have a look at the child. So the purpose of this exercise is to establish the base pattern for the entity protocol with an entity that is easy to love. So we just kind of look at the structure and pattern, choosing an entity to work with that is easy for us to grow into love relationship. So once we understand the energy movements, we can generalize this to all kinds of more challenging entities, which we will do in the second exercise. So now it's suggested to do it in pairs or small groups. So as we've got Gisela not here yet, we can still break up into pairs, so I can be the practitioner in the exercise. Okay. So one person creates the entity of a small child who has been mistreated. So it may be that one of us, who's the client, here she is. So we only need speak her name and she appears.
I'm so sorry.
Eventually she appears, yeah.
I'm so sorry. You don't believe I just fall asleep. I could have slept all day. I guess it was the FT yesterday.
I believe you. I completely believe you.
My clock is my phone, so I look at it. I didn't decodify it at all. I just turned the other way. And
yeah, no, it's fine. No, welcome. No, we're just getting on. We're just about to go into the exercise for entities and relationships. So if you're the client, you might have one of your own aspects, a child aspect, who was treated badly. So you can choose that. If we don't have a child aspect who was treated badly that we can look at the relationship with for this exercise, then you can choose one that you know of. If it's not your own aspect, it might be somebody else's child aspect. Just for sure, there's plenty of them in the news for us to choose about children who had, neglect or bad abuse or whatever been going on. So you can decide as the client which variation of that you want to choose. So one person creates the entity of a small child who's been mistreated, and the others, so the practitioner and the client then tunes into that entity, and the client describes the energetic reaction. So as you connect with that entity, how do you feel? So locate the entity first in the energy field, and then how do you feel? Use sixth sense body sensations to describe it instead of emotions. So I feel heaviness in my chest. I feel sick in my stomach. I feel, a weight on my shoulders. So use a kind of physical sensation description. And so what do we need to make us feel better as we connect with this entity? So remember I said we can either energize us or energize the entity. So in this one, we're going to energize us. Okay, so what do we need to feel better in this relationship? And then we tap, and then as we tap to bring energy to us in the relationship, we change and also the entity changes. So we may perceive the entity evolving into a better entity as well as we do that. So we can watch out for that, how the entity responds, and then how we feel afterwards.
Can I ask a question? When you said that we need to choose a child aspect, are we talking about a particular situation, so basically an event, or more like I don't know, a phase in the aspect's life. So for example, my aspect from the age, I don't know, 8.
Yeah, so it's good to pinpoint an aspect, pinpoint it to you know, a place and time. You know, to kind of actually, so we're looking at a particular snapshot of the aspect's life. You know, so an aspect, so there's many aspects. If you're looking at a period of time, you know, you have infinite aspects. So let's pin it down to the time when the aspect was age 8, at home, in the living room, when this thing happened, and or she was just feeling this because of something that had happened or whatever. So you just pinpoint, if you can, as much as you can, pinpoint the moment that we can, so that we're connecting to, rather than, well, we can do the era, because then it's like a group entity. It's all the aspects of that era.
That's my question, because, you know, sometimes, or probably very often, clients don't remember particular situation. It's more like a blur, but they remember, you know, the period of time, something like that. So
yeah. So again, and there's ways to get, the more questions we ask, the more definition that we will get about that. You know, say, well, can you remember where this was and when this was? And, you know, was the aspect at home, at school? You know, was she alone with anybody else there? What else was going on around? And the more questions you ask, the more information gets retrieved, the more detailed and specific the moment becomes. Or a memory then may pop up, a specific event may pop up to actually, you know, pinpoint. So but here again, as we've said, we're dealing with our concept of the aspect. The aspect has a concept. So even, you know, the representation of age 8 era, you know, that is also a concept. So long as then we can locate it in the energy field, the aspect age 8 era, locate it in the energy field, connect with it, get a sense of a description of it. How are we feeling towards that? And then, you know, what do we feel in the body? And then what do we need to be better? And then to watch how we change and how the aspect changes. Okay? So for this exercise, we don't need to get too worried about that. We could do a generic aspect like that, or we could do, you know, a specific aspect. Okay, because actually it's still our concept of the entity that we're connecting with. So, okay then, are we ready? So we'll go into 2 groups, and so if you want Gisela to stay in this group with me, and you can kind of observe this, I'll act out, I'll participate in this one. So you can just watch the pattern as you missed the description.
Yes.
And then somebody can go with Kim. So who'd like to go with Kim this morning?
Don't all rush me at once.
I was thinking the same thing. How is Tim going to feel by you responding like that, you know?
There's an aspect
you have to repair the relationship now.
I'll be the client and work on that.
I was going to say that I was with Kim last night, the last session we did together. So I was going to ask if Magdalena wanted to go, but I'm happy too. So.
I'm sorry, I have some sort of a crisis right now, so I really need to put myself back together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we could. I mean, I could go with Kim. We actually had an exercise, I think, yesterday morning, and then nothing together. So.
Okay. So maybe that'd be good to you to have a turn to work with Kim then. Okay.
Yeah.
So Prabha, you stay here, and Magdalena, you can go and work with Kim, and Gisela, you can stay here. That's great.
How long do we have?
Good question. Let me just check on the next exercise. We've got we've got 2 more exercises to do. So 15 minutes max.
So, well, it's 13
hour maybe.
to, well, 18.
So it's already 45. So on the
47.
hour.
47.
Yeah. Okay. So that's 5 past.
5 past.
Back
Okay.
at 5 past. Yeah.
And are we just doing one way or both ways?
One way. One way.
Yep. Perfect.
Oh.
Okay.
Right. Are you able to find the link, Magdalena, or do you want me to drop it in again?
I will find it on the group chat.
Okay.
Okay, so see you there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Prabha, are you going to be client?
I can be client.
Okay. So, and Gisela, you can just observe and join in the tapping at the time. So, okay, so do you, Prabha, have a child aspect? I've
come back in.
Wrong link, wrong link, wrong link. Do you have a child aspect who was treated badly, or actually even Gisela might have a child aspect that we could work with as well. So, what we're looking for, Gisela, is a child aspect who was not treated well, so it's easy for us to evolve our relationship of love with the child aspect, so we can just observe the structure and pattern of things. Okay. So it may be one of our aspects, or it might be somebody else's child aspect. So who, if we have one of our own, then we can do something therapeutically that's helpful rather than just learn about the structure. So what about you, Prabha? Have you got?
Yeah, so I have a child aspect, not my aspect, but of maybe a 7 or an 8-year-old boy. It's an aspect of a person who's an adult now, but as a boy, that aspect was not treated very well by his mother because she was frustrated. So she, I believe, the incident I'm thinking of is when she rolled up a comic book and beat him with it in her frustration. So that's the image. That's the incident I remember.
Okay, so the child got beaten up by his mum with the comic book. Yeah. Okay, so when we think about this child aspect, age
7 or 8.
Age 7 or 8, being beaten up by his mum with a comic book, and so when we think of this child aspect, so let's search, Prabha, search in your energy field where this child aspect is located. There.
Left and at the back.
Left and at the back. Okay. So as you connect left and at the back to the child aspect entity,
right
yeah,
and back.
Yeah.
Sorry, right and back.
Right and back. So as you connect back there to the child aspect, can you describe the entity in any way? Is there anything that you can see to describe the entity in any way?
It looks very small and shrunken.
Yeah.
Really tiny.
Okay. So as you connect with it now, so bring your attention to connect with the entity back there. And how do you feel as you connect with the entity?
Sad and helpless.
Okay, and where do you feel those feelings in your body?
This area.
Around there, yeah, and there, okay. So what do you need more of to help you kind of feel better or be better in your relationship with this child entity? More what?
Trust that it turns out well for the child.
Okay, trust. Okay, more trust. And Gisela, if you could either join in this one, or if you could take a moment, we might do like a little group workshop, and I can lead it, and you could, you know, look at one of your child aspects in the same way. So if you've already chosen a child aspect of your own.
I've chosen a child aspect, but the word can be the same even.
You've chosen a child aspect of your own.
Yeah, and trust, it's
the same.
It suits perfectly.
Okay, so I just want you to locate the aspect in your energy field. And
it's like in front of me, right on my foot, but really like.
Okay, there. Okay, right there. Okay, connect with it. How do you feel? Note your feelings. Where do you feel in your body?
In my stomach, in my belly.
Stomach. And again, what do you need more of? What do you need more of to be better, feel better in this relationship with this aspect?
Trust and compassion.
Okay, okay. So keep connected with your entities and note the feelings that you have, and let's tap for more trust and compassion. More trust and more compassion. More trust and more compassion. Stay connected with the entity. More trust and more compassion. 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 Stay connected with the entity. Feel what's changing inside you. More trust and more compassion. 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 Okay, so when you come back to your heart position, just notice what's changing. So notice what's changing in your feelings towards the aspect, how they're evolving, and any comments of any observations of change. Prabha?
It's, I think I went into emo because I focused on what was happening within my body.
Yeah.
And the sensation here seems to have dissipated, and the one in the heart region has gone down to the belly, and it's also
dispersing. Okay, okay, very good. Gisela, what about you? What's evolving in your feeling?
Still something in the stomach, but it's like
okay,
the legs are have more energy. I like tingling.
Okay,
like
tingling in the leg, more energy. Yeah. Okay, and just in this pause, we'll do another round because we've got time for another round. Check back with the entity itself, the child aspect entity, and what's changed as you note that how it appears to you now and its location in your energy field. Has there been any change in your in the entity itself?
Mine is still in the same place, but seems like a little bit taller.
A bit taller. Okay. Prabha?
Same place, but a little bigger.
Bit bigger. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so by changing us, the relationship changes, the entity changes also. So it affects, we can't change one without affecting the other, which is good. Okay, so let's do one more round to improve our relationship on our side with the entity. So what else do we need, or what do we need more of, or more of the same, or something else to improve our relationship with the entity?
Same thing, I think, for me, trust that all is well.
Yeah, for me too.
More trust. Okay. So connect with the entity, observe yourself and your feeling, and more trust, even more trust.
Even more trust.
Even more trust. Even more trust. Even more trust. Even more trust. Even more trust. Even more trust. What's better than even more trust? Complete trust?
And knowing, and a knowing.
Knowing. Even more trust. Complete trust and knowing.
Complete trust and knowing.
Complete trust and knowing. Complete trust and knowing. Complete trust and knowing. Complete trust and knowing. Complete trust and knowing. Complete trust and knowing. Okay. So again, notice what's evolving in your feeling, your emotions, towards the entity, towards the aspect. And then notice also how the aspect entity is also evolving. So what changes do you notice?
So I'm not feeling anything in my body now. It's just blocked. And that entity is really large, and it's gone much higher than me. It was such a small there.
Yeah.
Now
Okay. Gisela, what's changing for you?
Well, I feel something in my back, but then now I don't know if it was the way I wake up.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So connect with the aspect.
And the aspect. I don't know, I think he's playing. She's playing.
She's playing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's not really right in front of me. It's like all over playing.
Okay, so there's a change again. For the aspect has changed, and you have changed in your relationship with the aspect. So okay, interesting. So we've got 2 minutes before they come back. So one more round. What would be even better than this for us in our relationship with the aspect?
Send love. Unconditional love.
Unconditional love, yeah. Would that work for you, Gisela?
It works, but to me, what came was to release any that we may not see now, any residue that we may not see now.
Okay, so what's the emotion of then releasing? Is it more release for you? This is for you to improve your relationship. So release of all residues. Release of all, so that would be for you, release of all residues, and Prabha, you do unconditional love. Okay, so just tap for your own next positive. Okay, so release of all residues into unconditional love. 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 Okay, good. So know how you feel towards the aspect and how the aspect is now. How and where the aspect is in your energy field now and how it is. Okay, what's changed for you first?
I'm feeling a buzzing, tingling, and a happy feeling, but I can't find the aspect. Away or something. I don't know. I can't sense it.
Okay, so that's changed. So somewhere gone, disappeared.
Probably here.
Okay. And just kind of get a sense of connection with it. And how does the aspect appear to you now?
Light and free.
Light and free. Okay, good, good. Gisela, what's changed for you first, and then what's changed for the aspect?
My body is lighter.
Yeah.
And the aspect, it's still, I don't know where, like in her life, but comes to my legs and kiss me.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Okay. Okay, good. So we can see the structure appearing, can't we? So we have a relationship with the entity. We locate the entity in the energy field. It has a certain appearance to us as our representation of it. And as we improve our energy flow with the aspect, then the aspect changes as well, or the entity changes as well as we changing. So we can't kind of change one without it impacting the other. And so that might change maybe in the position in our energy field and also in its own right, in itself. So very good. We got the structure. And
so like Prabha doing with the entity of this boy.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, like finding the man and see if it's like different or in some sort.
I was just going to ask actually, this means that there might be some impact on the present aspect also of the person?
I'm just turning my volume up a little bit. Hang on. Say that again. So, the question?
Would there be an impact on the present aspect of that person? Probably, because we're connecting to their aspect. Again, depends on, is our concept of their aspect, but that's where our attention is going. So we're improving that. But that's an aspect of the person that's, is part of them. So, we're making an update on their energy field. We're adding energy for their energy field. So as we change ours, so they may not have a conscious awareness of it unless they know that you're doing the work, but they may have some subtle change within themselves according to how much that has been affecting them. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It may not have affected them as much as it affected me now. I mean, when I was tuning in.
Yeah. So it depends on how much their aspect is affecting them in today, to whether they would notice any kind of a change today from that. Yeah. But yeah, it's very interesting because while we're waiting for them to come back,
sorry, Kim has just messaged saying it will take them a bit longer.
Okay. So is she? Because there's the famous story of origins of Ho'oponopono. Know the story of it? And
yeah.
Dr. Hugh Len, and him working in the psychiatric criminal institution and helping healing the inmates or the residents there. So by looking at their history, their aspects, and healing himself in front of their aspects of everything that wasn't love. So he kind of returned himself to love in front of all of their aspects, and then the people got better by doing that. Yeah. So, and that's effectively what we're doing. We're kind of healing ourselves in front of the aspect. And so, if we did enough of that, which would be according to how much compassion we have, how much love we have to be even able to begin to do that. And you might think, oh, I have no even desire or care to do it, is you don't have the capacity yet to do that. And so that's interesting to cultivate, so we can see how we could even, you know, start to sense and feel the compassion of that man, you know, to even begin that journey. 4 years apparently it took, he spent doing that. So yeah, very interesting. Okay, so we'll wait for those to the others to come back. So obviously doing a real healing job there, going on with a real
get some more water.
Aspect that needed the owner to be healed. Okay, so the next we're going to look at the perpetrator. The mother with the rolled up comic beating up the child, we're going to look at next. And see what our relationships are there. And then the bonus exercises, which we won't have time for. The illness, again, that's another kind of example that we can be in relationship with. And a general concept, you know, anything, money, happiness, religion, politics, perfect weight, you know, any kind of concept we can look at our relationship with.
So again, we create an entity.
The same pattern. When you think of the mother, where in your energy field is it? Connect with it. How do you feel as you connect with it? You feel in your body. What do you need to feel better in this relationship with this concept, with this entity? So the pattern is the same.
So I had a question, Sandra.
Yeah.
I wrote this, but now I think it's wrong, because I thought that we can either do what do I need to feel better about this entity,
Yeah.
or what does this entity need?
Yeah.
What does need? So do we do all? We can do any of the three, or we should just focus on what I need?
Well, so the exercises are guiding us to what do I need, but we can also send energy to the entity is another option. And we can also send energy to the relationship entity, the bubble, as well. So there's lots of options, but the pattern is the same. We're just sending energy to improve our relationship with the entity, adding more energy to ourselves. But yes, we can also do by sending energy to the entity as well. Yeah, Gisela,
yes, I've not been using this much of the entity. If we have the aspect and we can relate by just being the aspect, what's the difference? What's the core difference between aspect and entity? Because if we relate to the aspect, right?
Yeah, so as again, this is, you know, setting up the terms at the beginning that you missed, that everything is an entity. What we mean by entity is a generic term for everything that we can be in relationship with. So an aspect is just an example of an entity. We just happen to choose. So we already have been in relationship with our aspects, and we've been adding energy to ourselves to feel better in our relationship with our aspects. We've also said, what do our aspects need? And we've sent energy to the aspect. So we did that yesterday. But what we're doing here is we're recognizing the structural pattern there, that there's us, there's an entity, and there's a relationship with the entity, and we could add energy here, or we could add energy there.
Should we show her the page which had that examples of entities?
Yeah, we could do it while we're waiting for them to come. Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah. So, you know, there's us and all the different kind of entities that we're in relationship with. So absolutely everything you can imagine that we are in relationship with, it's an entity, it's a thing. And even a concept is an energetic thing. It's a collection of information, it's an energetic thing. And according to how much energy we have, or how much energy the entity has, then the entity is a, you know, a better entity up to being an angelic, the light, or it's a worse entity up to being sort of threatening, angry, demonic, and then just even the black abyss. So, so that's according to how much energy the entity has, and also how much energy we have as we perceive the entity differently as well through our lens, our relationship with the entity. And so what we're doing is we're connecting with the entity, locating it in the energy field, and then we're improving our relationship with it by adding more energy. So we're adding more energy, in this case, to ourselves, but we could also add more energy to the aspect, as we did yesterday, or to the entity itself, as we did yesterday. So that's the pattern that we're using. And the other thing that you missed, Giselle, which is kind of to understand, is that we are in, whatever we're in relationship with, or whoever we are in relationship with, we're in our relationship with our concept of it. Because until that is a relationship of oneness, you cannot possibly know all of it. We have a concept of it that we are then in relationship with. Just like, let's say, you think you know me. You've got a representation of Sandra that you're in relationship with. You don't know the whole of Sandra. So your relationship with me as a person is with your concept of me. So and that applies again structurally. So we're in relationship with energetic entities, the concepts that we have of things, until that relationship becomes so much into love and oneness, then, you know, then we can know the thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. This is kind of putting kind of a more awareness on, conscious awareness on what we've already been doing, you know, kind of understanding the structure and the framework that's operating. So. Okay, so what we're going to do, well, they needed a long time. It looked like a crisis going on next door there. So I wonder what would be a good thing to do, because time, we've got two.
Let me ask you something, like Prabha did with this exercise with relating to the man's childhood, right?
Child aspect,
so yeah. We can actually do it like relating to anyone. I've not been using the entities really in my work, so it's like you can do it relating to anyone.
Yes.
It would be
there's a structure of our relationship with entities. That's the structure. And in the exercise, we just happen to choose the example of an entity. In this exercise, we're going to choose the child aspect. We could use the person today. We could use the tree outside the window. But just for an example, but the structure of the relationship and is the same, and how we would approach it is the same.
So sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah.
So if we were to do this bonus exercise, it says the concept And if you were to choose, say, the concept of money.
Yeah.
The same
of what?
Of money.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
So you could say, okay, when you think about money, where in your energy field is the concept of money? Okay, locate it, and then, oh, how do I feel about it? What do I need more of to improve my relationship with money? Okay, so it's the same structure as we just did with the aspect. And if it's an illness, oh, me and my addiction, let's say, okay, so me and my addiction, okay, so where's my addiction in my energy field? Okay, locate it. How do I feel towards my addiction? Okay, I feel in my body. What do I need more of to improve my relationship with my addiction or with my illness or whatever it is? So the pattern is the same. Whatever the it is, whatever the it pattern's the same.
So I have a friend whose daughter seems to have a mental illness. And so if I want to do something for the mother's concept of the daughter, or the concept of the illness, so what would I connect with? The mother or the entity that is?
So which entity do you want to deal with? The relationship of the mother with which entity? With the daughter, with the daughter's illness?
Both, with the daughter and with the daughter's illness. Because
Okay.
she's not, she doesn't accept the fact that the daughter needs help and the daughter is deteriorating, I think.
So the mother, the mother's relationship with the daughter who has an illness. Yeah. So she's not accepting the daughter, or she's not accepting the illness.
The
illness. So the mother's relationship with the illness, the daughter's illness entity. Okay. So you could ask the mother, when you think about your daughter's illness or mental illness or condition, where in your energy field do you sense and feel is the condition? And then, if she could search for that, we could locate it, connect to it. How do you feel towards that and about that? And then you could say, what do you need more of to improve your relationship, to feel better in this relationship with it? So
I wanted to do something for the mother.
Yeah. You mean like by proxy? You mean you wanted to help the mother?
Yes. Yes. So can I use the mother's concept of her daughter's illness as an entity, or is that too complicated?
Yeah, interested. Yeah. So where do I? Yeah. So the mother's concept. She's got an entity of the daughter's illness in her energy field. So yeah, that'd be interesting. Why not? And then you would connect to the entity of the illness, or the mother, and it's like a group entity, the mother and the illness entity as a group. You could say, how do I feel towards it, that group entity, the mother and her relationship with the daughter's illness as a group? And then how do I feel towards it? What do I need more of? Or you could send energy, to either one.
Either one is easier, right? Rather than making it so complicated.
Or the combination, yeah. Or the combination, yeah. Because the relationship, which we're going to look at next, is a group entity. So it's an entity in its own right with a number of components, yeah. So that's interesting, yeah. It'll be an interesting setup, actually, to see how that evolves. Okay, so I think we should carry on and let them actually just join us. Otherwise, we won't do what we need to do. So let's have a look at the perpetrator. So we've looked at, let's say, the victim, the one who's been, who's received the bad treatment. Let's have a look at the perpetrator in the same way. So let's do this as a group to choose one. Okay, so have we got a perpetrator aspect who perpetrated the act of bad treatment on a child aspect? Have we got one in mind that we could connect with as a group? Could we do the mother with the rolled up comic, or do you have one, Gisela, that you would?
Well, I was about to say every mother is a perpetrator, right? Because as good as she is,
yes,
always the kid understands in his own way or her own way. And well, all of us have bad days, and we say, "Whoa, stop it!" And then
okay, so therefore, well, that's generic. Every mother, that's true. So
the mother, maybe the mother that, I don't know if you have children, probably, but like the mother in us, and regardless, because we potentially are a mother, the mother that we carry in ourselves. Can we do that? As the perpetrator.
As the perpetrator.
Because like mother, if we, in ourselves, like if I stay with my friends' sons or my brother's sons, I'm at that moment I'm being like their mothers. Well, so the mother that exists on ourselves.
Okay, we could because that's a concept. That's it's an aspect, a pattern, a combined pattern within ourselves, like which is a combination of aspects. Because at that moment, it's a mother acting in a certain way, because there's a number of aspects. So when you say the mother in us, you're collecting all of those aspects together.
Okay.
So as a group,
it's a concept. Okay.
Concept of a group of aspects. So it might be more, for clarity of learning, to choose one specific mother aspect who perpetrated an act at a moment in time, and just so we can get some focus and understand the structure more clearly. But that you could do that as in a more advanced version, like Prabha's example is another advanced setup. So if we choose if you want to go back to your child aspect, Gisela, that you dealt with, and look at the mother aspect who perpetrated the act on the child aspect of the time. So can you tell us something so we can do this as a group about the mother aspect, what she perpetrated, what she did at the time, which was experienced as treating badly to the child aspect? Are you able to say that?
It's like victimized herself, so wasn't fully present.
So that the mother was not fully present. The mother was
victimizing herself, so the perpetration was not being fully present for the
not being available and present to the child because she was victimizing herself, and the effects of that was a neglecting kind of effect of her not being able to be present. Okay, so here we've got the mother aspect who's in a victimizing herself. Where is she?
It's kind of like lying on the ground.
Pardon?
It's kind of like lying on the ground.
She's lying on the ground, yeah? In the house, outside the house?
Anywhere.
She's lying on the ground, anywhere. Okay, so this is a representation. She's lying on the ground. Where in your energy field?
Kind of in front of me.
In front of you, okay. So we can all connect there too. So with the mother aspect, the perpetrator who's victimizing herself lying on the ground, okay? So as we connect to this mother aspect, perpetrator of that bad treatment, how do we feel towards this entity. And what do we feel in the body?
What I feel, it's like it's not right.
Okay, that's a description of it. What's the physical description in your body? What does that
body
feel like? Yeah,
it's still some tension in my stomach, my belly, all
tension in your stomach,
abdomen, all this abdomen. Area. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, Prabha, have you got a sense of connecting with that entity? And what do you feel?
I feel sadness, and again in this area.
Okay. So, yeah, I've got a sense of sadness, but I've got it in my body. So we ask ourselves, what do we need more of to feel better in our relationship with this entity of the mother perpetrator? What do we need more of? For me, it's more understanding.
For me, understanding and compassion.
Yeah?
For me, it's releasing and compassion.
Okay. Okay. So more understanding and compassion. More understanding and compassion. More understanding and compassion. Okay. Let's tap a bit. More understanding and compassion. More understanding and compassion, and stay connected with the entity as we're tapping. More understanding and compassion. 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 Yeah. Understanding and compassion. 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 How's it evolving? We're tapping. How are we evolving in connection with the perpetrator aspect? Compassion. 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 compassion, love, compassion and love, compassion and love, compassion and love. I want to do forgiveness as well. Compassion, love, and forgiveness. Compassion, forgiveness, and love. Compassion, forgiveness, and love. Compassion, forgiveness, compassion, forgiveness, and love. Compassion, forgiveness, and love. Compassion, forgiveness, and love. Okay, so how are we changing in our relationship with the perpetrator now? What's changing?
Kim says she's still here.
Still here. Okay, so let me just respond to her. Still here. It's okay. We will go into the break in 5 and 5 and meet again at on the hour. Okay, so what's evolved in our relationship with the perpetrator aspect?
Not taking it so seriously.
So I'm feeling like a softer, okay, what does that feel like?
Yeah, softer.
Softness, love, understanding, allowance.
Well, allowance now.
Allowance of her where she's at. That's different, yeah. Understanding, forgiveness, yeah. So a softness in me, yeah, towards her. And what?
Well, it's the word for me, it's sweetness. It's more not so. It's really similar, but it's like not taking it so seriously, and at the same time being more fluffy. It's sweetness.
Yeah. Sweetness.
Yeah.
And what's changed about the perpetrator? Like, to me, feels like she's not lying on the ground, but more like sitting up. You know, like, okay, a little bit more, feeling a bit more supported in herself.
Yeah.
Rather than lying on the ground, a bit more supported and sitting up.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually that also says even more, potential room for even more of our evolution to be able to let the perpetrator be able to stand up. You know, that's also showing me something. Okay, so that change in me so far, the perpetrator aspect is kind of sitting up, but it's not enough change in me to let the perpetrator aspect be standing up. So there's more change in me could be possible, possibly available, that's unexplored. It's like even more love, even more patience, even more happy, thankful, or you know, whatever that might be. I'm just reaching to see what that might be, in order to that energy to be supporting the perpetrator into a better state. So that's interesting to see the journey there. Yeah. Okay, I think we got the pattern. And so just before we go into the break, the other bonus exercise is the same pattern, but with a different kind of entity. And there's another exercise, which I think we'll do it when we'll do it after the break. We'll do it as a, you know, our group entity as an example that we can work with. So the group entity is individual entities combined, you know, the relationship, a family, a company, a business, a project, a team, you know, that their combined energies make an entity. And so how do we work with the group entity? So what can we do? We'll have a look at that after the break. And as we've had a long session there already. Okay, so we'll finish up. We'll come back on the hour. So we'll take sort of 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
And let's just check on the others that they're okay. I'm going to jump in their room, actually, and just let them know that we'll reconvene on the hour.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
See you now.
I just stopped the
recording. See you in a little bit.
I'll keep this room meeting open.